real warrior knows about the soul, y'all.
I'm a warrior, I am a warrior, a warrior, a warrior. I'm a warrior, I am a warrior, a warrior, a warrior.
Hello, my name is Don Kilhefner, and I want to welcome you to Gay Tribal Elder. We're broadcasting from Los Angeles, where I live, but my outreach is really global. I've been very much influenced by the saying, think globally, act locally, and so that's what we're trying to do. What I'd like you to do is imagine that you're sitting under a shade tree somewhere, a big old maple tree somewhere, and you and I are talking. It's a warm Sunday morning, there's a slight breeze, and an elder is talking to you. Normally, I like it to be interactive, but these are the limits of the technology. It's one way right now, but it won't always be. I'll be talking, in these talks, I'll be talking from both my intellect and my heart. I won't try to dumb it down for you, and I will try to stay connected to my heart. During the first decade of the gay liberation revolution, posted next to my bed was a saying by Che Guevara. It said, quote, "At the risk of sounding ridiculous, true revolutionaries are motivated by great feelings of love." And that's been etched on my heart ever since. In these sessions, I'll be talking to you from the G and the Q in LGBTQ, as a gay person, as a queer person. And some of the topics that we'll be covering will be gay history. You have a history you can be proud of. We'll be looking at the radical fairies and queer consciousness. We'll also be talking about intergenerational dialogue and cooperation. For the last 20 years of my life here in Los Angeles, that's something I've been focusing on. We'll look at the question of what is gay-centered culture. Gay shamanism interests me. Why community is important. What do we mean by gay-centered politics? We'll look at the questions of racism and classism and the gay community, and a whole range of related topics. I want to also make it clear that these broadcasts are of interest both to gay people and non-gay people. While I'll be using the G word a great deal, I find that in my work in the last 50 years, non-gay people have benefited tremendously by the insights that I've developed by my work in the gay community. So when you spread word about a gay tribal elder, make sure you also let your non-gay friends know about it. Right now, the question that might be on your mind is, who is Don Kilhefner? Right now, I'd like to talk a little bit about Don Kilhefner. That's me. I've been involved in the gay community continuously on the front lines for half a century, 50 years. I'm probably among a handful of gay men worldwide who can make a statement like that. When the Stonewall Rebellion happened on June 28th, 1969, I was a doctoral student at UCLA working on my PhD in African history, Islamic history. And as a poet once said, I turned my head for a second and it became my life. I spent the next 50 years of my life working on the benefit of gay people, the welfare of gay people. From about 1969 to 79, 2 years, I was a gay liberation revolutionary, attacking any kind of source of gay oppression that I could make contact with. I worked through something called the Gay Liberation Front of Los Angeles, a militant organization, radical organization here in Los Angeles, that fought back for the first time, gay people fighting back against the police, against the church, against the state, anywhere where we found gay oppression taking place. Then from about 1971 to 1981, about a decade, much of my gay liberation fire was transformed into community organizing, because we realized that we couldn't spend the rest of our lives reacting to heterosexual supremacy. We had to create a community where a community didn't exist. And so I was central with Morris Kite to organizing, founding the Gay Community Services Center here in Los Angeles. It's now known as the LA LGBT Center, the largest organization of its kind in the world, and spent 10 years developing that. A wide range of human services specifically designed for gay people. I'm also the co-founder with Morris Kite of the Van Ness Recovery House, the first recovery facility, residential recovery facility in the world, designed specifically for gay and lesbian people. I'm also co-founder with Harry Hay of the Radical Fairies, an international gay consciousness and gay spirituality movement. And I'm also was involved with the Coors boycott, organizing Coors boycott. The Coors Brewing Company, one of the financiers of most of the gay oppression that happened in this country organizationally. It spent millions and millions of dollars trying to turn back the clock on everything that gay liberation had achieved. So I spent about a decade doing that kind of fundamental gay community organizing work. I spent also, beginning in about 1982, I took on a role as gay healer in the gay community. I went back to graduate school, got another master's degree, PhD in psychology, specializing in the psychology of Carl Jung, which I still practice today, primarily creative people, artists, writers, filmmakers, musicians, etc. I really, I'm a little different as a Jungian psychologist. I'm looking at gay-centered Jungian psychology. What does it mean in terms of what's the psyche like for a gay person that's different than it is for a straight person? I've also trained as a shamanic practitioner. I trained for 7 years with Michael Harner with the Foundation for Shamanic Studies, and also do shamanic healing work, shamanic organizing work in the gay community. For about 20 years, I facilitated a work here in Los Angeles called Seeing in the Dark, an introduction to gay shamanism, where I taught shamanic practice in the gay community. The reason I was doing that was that is one of the roles that gay people historically played throughout the world as medicine men and medicine women. And so I wanted to try as much as possible to bring that consciousness back into the gay community again. I'm founder of something called the Gay Men's Medicine Circle here in Los Angeles, created based on shamanic practice. Everybody in the Gay Men's Medicine Circle went through the Seeing in the Dark Introduction to Gay Shamanism workshop. And its primary focus was the well-being and welfare of gay men. The last 20 years of my life here in Los Angeles has been focused largely on intergenerational work, trying to bring an intergenerational consciousness into the gay community. As you're probably well aware, there is a great deal of age apartheid in our community, and trying to break that down and trying to get generations talking to each other. I did this largely through a series of community-based workshops I facilitated here. One of them was called Father Hunger, the union of the son of promise with the father of achievement, focusing on gay men in their late teens, 20-somethings, trying to help them to make that transition from youth into the first stage of adulthood. We would spend a year together in a workshop trying to get them to focus on what their heroic task was and getting them to engage in that heroic task. With Roberta Blaine, we also did a workshop called Gay Men and Midlife Awakening, rites of passage into the second half of life, where we tried to help gay men begin to focus on how they can be of service, how they can begin to honor their gifts and live a life of purpose. And a third workshop I did was Becoming a Gay Elder, archetype of the spiritual father, working with old gay men, seeing how they can be contributing to the community. One of the intergenerational things I'm most is something called Rise Up and Shout, Voices of the Next Gay Generation. We organized shows here in Los Angeles at the Barnstable Gallery Theater, in which we blessed and honored the creative gifts, poets, singers, dancers, you name it. And the young people actually blew the roof off of the theater. They were so good. Also founded something called the Gay Elder Circle here. Gay men trying to bring gay elder consciousness into the community. And I've organized scores of days of intergenerational dialogue where elders, adults, and youth come together to talk to each other, to listen to each other. So that's what the last 50 years of my life has been like here in Los Angeles. I'm not saying this for personal promotion. People who know me well know that's not how I move in the world. But I had to account for the last 50 years somehow, and that's how I speak. Now let me address the question of what is a gay elder? In those 50 years of working in the gay community, one of the things I hear over and over again from young gay men is, when we need an elder, we don't know where to find them. How do you locate an elder? So I'd like to talk a little bit about a gay tribal elder and what an elder does in the community. You know, wherever we, as humans, whatever stage of history we lived in, cultural anthropologists tell us that we have divided our lives into 4 stages: youth, adult, elder, ancestor. And in future talks I'm going to be giving here, I'm going to look at each one of those stages in much more detail. But right now, I'd just kind of like to give you a simple overview of what a gay elder might be like. First of all, I think you need to differentiate the difference between an elder and what Michael Mead has taught me, the term older. Elder and older. What's the difference? An older is somebody who celebrates a birthday every year, keeps getting older and older and older, watches a lot of mindless television, and sits waiting for death. An elder is somebody who has community, is actively tending to the welfare of the gay community, so that both elders and olders are deserving of respect. I'm not trying to say olders aren't. Both are deserving respect. But there's a difference between an elder and an older. Not every old person is an elder. Every old person is elderly, but they're not necessarily an elder. What does eldering mean? And that's a term I think I coined. I haven't come across it anywhere else. It's what an elder does, it's called eldering. What a mentor does, it's called mentoring. A mentor is an adult who works with young people. An elder is somebody who does eldering and works with old people, adults, and youth as well, but largely adult. One of the things that elders do is tends to the spiritual welfare of a community. And when I talk about spiritual, I talk about spiritual in the broadest sense of that word. Carl Jung, when he talks about elders, described elders as spiritual fathers and spiritual mothers. In other words, a key role is tending to the spirit of a community, tending to the soul of a community. A second function of an elder in a community is providing continuity and stability and continuity to a community. Not so long ago, there was a somewhat contentious issue in the gay community here in Los Angeles. There was a community forum to discuss it. And one young man said to me, I was afraid that it was going to get really out of control. But when I saw you walk into the auditorium and sit down, I knew everything was going to be okay. That is, an elder many times affects things just by his very presence in a situation, has a calming effect, has effect of stabilizing a situation. Another role that elders play is transmitting. And gay people many times are really ignorant, let me just say it, ignorant of gay history. And it's a sad situation. It doesn't have to be that way. Because primarily, let me say to you, you have a history that you can be proud of. But one of the things that elders is make sure that that history is being transmitted from one generation to the next generation. An elder also transmits lived knowledge, what he has learned by living his life, if he has lived it in a certain way. Elders don't pontificate to younger people. If you come across any old person who's pontificating, who wants you to listen to him all the time, probably is not fulfilling the role of an elder. Elders listen more than they talk, and elders transmit something. It's not about their egos, it's transmitting something larger than their egos, history and lived knowledge to a younger generation. And a fourth thing, and I'm going over this fairly superficially, I'll go into more depth later. A fourth thing is elders have the moral authority to point out problems in the community that need attending to. Many times adults and younger people don't have that moral authority, don't have that power to be able to do that. And one of the roles of an elder is to look at what's happening in the community, and if there's a problem, to address that problem openly and honestly so that it gets addressed in some way or another. So these are some of the roles that a tribal elder does in a community. It's roles that I have been playing for the last 10, 15 years here in Los Angeles. And as I said before, in future episodes, I'm going to be talking about the role of ancestors, elders, adults, and youth in much more detail. Right now, I'd like to just tell you very briefly how to contact me.
I'm a warrior, I am a warrior.
To end this talk, I'd like to talk a little bit about eldering as a two-way street. When I do days of intergenerational dialogue here in Los Angeles, I always make sure that there are elders and youth in the group, because I think it's very important to have that kind of interactive dialogue going on. So eldering is a two-way street for me. With the limits of technology right now, it's hard for this broadcast to be interactive in the same way. So what I'd like to do, if you're open to it, if the spirit moves you, send me your email address. I'm at Don Kilhefner at sbcglobal.net. That's Don Kilhefner, DONKILHEFNER, lowercase, at SBC, S as in sexy, B as in boy, C as in cute, global.net. And the reason I want it, I'm asking for you to send me issues that you might be dealing with, or successes or failures that you might be having with intergenerational working together. When you send me your email, make sure you note that what act you're in. First act as a youth, second act as an adult, third act as an elder, and what your age is, because that will make a difference the way that I respond to what you're writing in. And I hope in the future to create talks that focus on the issues and the feedback that you're giving me about your life as a youth, or as an adult, or as an elder, as a gay youth, as a gay adult, as a gay elder. The second thing is I have a fairly large email list that I send out periodically, my own writings or other writings that I come across that I think are important for a gay person to know about. If I put you on my email list, it will not be monetized in any way whatsoever. Nothing that I do is monetized, and it will not be shared with anybody else. So that's it for the first talk of Gay Tribal Elder. The second one is on its way to you. I end this program by saying blessings on you, and may you live and walk in gay spirit.
like this. Fire's getting warm as I rise my fist. Storms as I write my script. Got to perform on a rhyme like this. Walk through the door and my eyes might shift. Got to explore, find my gifts. Share from the core, realize I'm stitched to the dirt, to the stars, to the eyes of a fish. Camera lens for the documentation. Friends, it is not a vacation. Talk to the plants, hear thoughts of the ancients. Walk to defend all that is sacred. Not gonna bend to the boss of a nation. Lost in a frenzy of want to be famous. Drop the pretending, stop being anxious. Talk to the wind, never lost in the matrix.